Stick around for this episode of the Toon Pack Podcast. Our guests will be Kids on Fire.
Woo!
Hey!
Welcome to the Toon Pack Podcast. I'm your host, the punk rock pop, Lee Pierce. And today we're lucky enough to have with us Kids on Fire. Guys, thanks for joining us. Do me a favor and introduce yourselves.
I'm Kevin. I'm drummer and backup vocals.
I'm Mikey.
I'm Johnny.
I play guitar and do some of the lead vocals.
And I am Sam. I play bass guitar, and then Johnny's gonna go next for last, just to make it.
I'm Johnny. I do some of the lead vocals and I play guitar. Hello.
All right, that one as smooth as I was hoping.
We're
perfect.
pros,
All
man.
right, guys, thanks for coming on. You guys are out of Seattle. You've been doing this a hot minute, and so tell us a little bit the history on the band.
Mikey or Johnny?
Yeah. So the history starts a long time ago, back in about 2005-ish. Me and Johnny met each other at a house show that I was playing in with an old band of mine, and that band broke up. And fast forward a few years, we joined. We were in a band together called Rain City Schwillers. That lasted for 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, and that band eventually dissolved, and we became Kids on Fire around 2010. Because we've been around for a bit, because me and Johnny are old, and me and him kind of just played around locally, just having fun for 5-6 years, just playing here and there, just having a good time. We're not really focused or had a goal really specifically, but eventually in 2018, I believe, Kevin came on board playing drums, and he had a little bit more of a drive and focus on that, and asked to take over booking duties, and the next thing you know, we're playing basically every weekend of every month of every year and stuff. And since then, just been playing our asses off. And 2021, I think, Sam came on board as bass player and adding his wonderful harmonies to everything. And that's basically the short.
22, I think.
Huh?
Yeah.
20.
I think it was 22.
22. Yeah.
22.
Feels like 2020, but yeah. But that's the short abridged version. But yeah, we've been around for a bit, but it's been mainly the last seven years or so that we've been kind of like busting our asses and just playing every weekend and touring as much as we can and whatnot. Johnny?
Well, and I'm not surprised at all that Kevin's got you booking and that busy, because I know just from seeing on social media, when Kevin's not on stage, he's near the stage watching other bands and supporting local artists. Yeah. And that's awesome to see.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's something.
Like when the band.
Go ahead, Johnny.
When the band started, Mikey and I were both kind of doing other projects as well. I was in a band called Neutral Boy for quite a few years, and then he was doing a band called Backcountry. And so we were kind of pulled in different directions a little bit as well. So I think like you said, it wasn't until like 2017 or 18 when we started taking it a little bit more seriously. So
yeah, I mean, at the time, Johnny.
And I had you guys on specifically for this topic because you guys run your band like a business. Not only are you incredible musicians, I mean, you're very skilled. You're a very tight band, but you run it like a business. I mean, literally an LLC. At what point did you decide you needed to take that next step. And I mean, because you still have fun. You guys still pile into a van and go do shows,
Yeah.
but you take it the next step to be more professional and, literally an LLC. What made you decide that that was the right route for you?
Yeah. So, um, prior to doing that, I was having, I was doing the finances, or at least having them flow through my personal accounts, through my savings account. I set up a personal credit card just for the band to use for expenses and gas and all that stuff. And I had kind of talked to a few other people, and I didn't really know. I hadn't really talked to a whole lot of people who actually had switched over to being an LLC versus just running everything through their personal finances. That's pretty much how all the bands that I know do it, that are a lot bigger. And I was concerned with, it used to be more. I mean, it's always cash is king, right? And it used to be more that as a band you operated on a cash flow from what you got paid from the door and what you got paid from merch, and it was a lot of cash. But with the introduction of people being able to set up Square, Venmo, digital currency, PayPal, Cash App. Hell, I took a Zelle payment last night. Like, it's everything is so traceable now. Like, our e-distro through DistroKit is all traceable and gets reported to the IRS at the end of every year. Our our PayPal, our Venmo, or anything we have, our Bandcamp, it all gets reported. And, it used to be, it was like, all right, this is 10 to 20% that can be seen on paper. After a certain point, it was like, all right, no, 50 to 60% can be seen on paper. And once, started getting past the like, 10 grand a year type of thing that's traceable, I was starting to be a little concerned about, like, everyone I talked to is like, oh, yeah, they're your small pennies. They're not going to worry about you. That's great and all, but especially with our current government, I don't want to be the example. And I feel like when it comes to the IRS and taxes, they love to make a small example, and they will find somebody and they will just go after them. And for as much stuff as we do, and as much of it was starting to be digital transactions and all trackable at the end of the year, I didn't want to be an example for how many transactions we were doing. Um, and so for me, that was one of the biggest motivators for switching over to an LLC. And then at the same time, we get liability protection. It brings down our merch costs as well, because now we have resale certificates. So like overall, it does cost us a little bit more, but because you got to pay all your taxes at the end of the year and you have to be smarter about how you set your money aside. But there is also a certain level of protection that we get, that as individual musicians, God forbid we get in an accident or something bad happens on tour. God forbid something happens to the venue while we're playing there, and the venue wants to go after us for whatever reason. Not that we're in a habit or I've ever done that, but just in case, you hear all those rock star stories from back in the day, whatever, something crazy happens, we have that liability protection. We personally aren't at risk of losing all of our savings, anything in our personal life. Worst case scenario, we are at risk of losing our business.
You, well, exactly. You literally use your LLC as your insurance. The worst thing that could happen is you got to shut it down and start a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you always hear those like shady contractors and shit doing that, but there's a time that it actually is a good thing. And because there's some businesses that you can form an LLC, but you still can't get insurance coverage because of the type of business. So having that LLC does protect you. And well, and honestly, I'm sure there's got to be a lot of venues and stuff because the industry's changing. Because everything's going digital, whether it be the music itself, the marketing, or the pace, everything's going digital. So I think it's good when venues or booking agents or whoever you might be dealing with sees that, oh, these guys are taking it serious.
Yeah.
They're not just some kids fucking around on the weekend. If they're taking the time, they're filing taxes, they're doing grown-up shit. That's it's good. If you're looking at that and then this young group of kids that are just getting drunk at the show, who are you going to book? I'm booking you.
Yeah. Well, and also to
And there is something to be said about with the creation of the LLC too. It's just like Kevin said, protection. It's also like protection for ourselves in those situations. And then life happens. Anything can happen. Like something might happen down the road, or medical emergencies happen, or like just the chaos that is life might happen. So like it's making sure that we're all like able to like take accountability, and also like what needs to get paid gets paid, and like separations happen or whatever reason, like people are taken care of and whatnot, because there is the telltale sign, and the ever like popular term of like don't work with your don't start business with your best friends, because they're all like, oh, like it's gonna get sour and stuff like that. And I say that not only are these guys working professionals that have joined, they're really good friends of mine too, but like also like we want to make sure that we anticipate anything that might happen. So this is just a like, making sure like everything that can be anticipated can like, is anticipated, and then making sure like there are protections for everyone along the way.
Well, and
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. To that point too, you have these like, how many of us have heard of X number of messy band breakups? So and so starts saying such and such. One person selling all the merch off without telling the other people. Somebody's still trying to sell, keeping the recording rights, but other people aren't getting it. So in creating the LLC, we had to create our business operating rules, our standard procedure operating rules for how all of that gets handled. And as much as no one wants to think about it, because yeah, it takes the gloss out of things, and it makes you have to answer some hard questions around each other and around those. We had to set written rules in place that we got signed and are legally submitted as our LLC documents, as our operating rules, that we have agreements in place. We have like a 10-page agreement we all signed where it says, all right, X amount goes to X people once we start paying out, or after a certain period where it's not paying into the band, and everyone owns X amount of rights to the material, and if somebody leaves the band, do they keep rights to getting money and stuff like that? So like, it made us actually have to think and sit and talk about that stuff. And then as yeah, it's uncomfortable. None of us had really done it before, so we didn't know what we're doing. So it also builds a level of collaboration where if something does happen, hey, we all agreed to something, you know.
We also did do our homework by Kevin did reach out to, or not Kevin, well, I can't remember who it was specifically, but someone reached out to like a legal professional or some sorts that went over the documents to make sure like, hey, like this actually looks pretty solid. You guys clearly put a lot of thought into this, because again, the danger is that like like at least what I've seen when it comes to music, and currently in like some examples that we've seen, is that a lot of people are like oh, we're best friends, nothing bad is ever going to happen, and then these bands that we were playing with like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago are no longer a thing. No one's talking to each other. There's bad blood all around. So it's more about just like, again, like this danger of like you don't have to worry or think about these things, because you think that this unspoken rule won't be broken, but again, we're just anticipating everything that happens, not wishing bad blood or anything, God forbid, happen like something like that happens to us, but it's all just like these things that should be talked about, like Kevin said, hard conversations, but they're all part of that growing collaboration business. It's because sometimes it does get messy and uncomfortable, but because of the fact that we chose to proactively confront the issue, like not active issues, but like talk about these things and the possibilities of what might happen, is that what I think makes us more understanding and stronger together.
I don't
that's
know, Sam.
something.
If you fall asleep in the front seat one more time, we're going to be having a problem.
hey man,
Kevin, we're talking about financial issues. We're not talking about interpersonal issues. We have an HR team for that. And I don't like that you're head of HR
hey
either.
Kevin, I would watch it because you're one dad joke away in the van from being booted, dude. So
Uh, the next tour video is Kevin strapped to the roof, screaming as you're flying down the interstate. But no, that's something I never thought about that side of it. That because my business, I've got my marketing agency, Grizz Media, and it's an LLC, but it's just solo ownership. So I never thought about the articles and you guys having to sit down, and how cool that is, because it is. You kind of get to troubleshoot any issues before they ever happen,
yeah,
because you do see it constant. I don't think even all bands that are still together haven't had some sort of issue because of a past member, even if they left on good terms. Because you just see like, hey, well, how come all their music's gone off streaming? Well, because one person quit the band and they don't know who the hell owns the rights and has what because they got nothing on paper. And you see that all the time. All of a sudden, one of your favorite artists, they broke up, but you've been still listening to their music for a decade. All of a sudden, everything just disappears because nothing was set in stone and nobody knows what, and everybody's trying to sue each other.
Yeah.
Or, all of a sudden now there's two bands with the same name because nobody agreed on who owned the copyright or the rights to the name and the logo. And you see that kind of crap all the time. So I
Yeah.
never thought about that. That's really cool. I never thought that's something I didn't think about.
I
Yeah.
think the other thing is like none of us do this for the money and never have, you know. But when the band started generating enough money where it's something where the IRS is definitely going to notice, probably, you know, it changes a lot of factors, you know, like Kevin was saying, and you know, you have to start thinking about those things that we don't ever really think about, which is like the monetary part of it and songwriting credits and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of weird to talk about that, but I'm glad that we did because now we don't have to worry about that being an issue down the line. So,
Well, and that being said,
Yeah,
then I
because
mean,
if it's one of those things it's one of those things where it's whether it's because it is a partnership, it is a relationship, whether it's a business one or especially in a band, when you're creating art together, you are friends, but you're creating something that's bigger than yourself too. So there's gonna be issues, and in any relationship, if you can't sit down and talk about the hard stuff before it happens, you're never gonna get through that hard stuff. So it's
yeah,
kind of a good kind of litmus test because like if the four of you couldn't sit down and get through the paperwork, you weren't going to probably get back on stage again
yeah,
because it shows you the kind of people you're dealing with.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Mikey, you were saying?
Yeah, Mikey, you were saying something then?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, I was just saying, like, as far as like, being concerned about with the IRS and stuff, it's like they will come after you because I've had an experience with a band with Backcountry where we did a benefit show, and I had to use my at the end of the night to get the payout. I had to use my Social Security, to my tax ID to get the payment. And because it was a charity thing, I didn't even think anything of it because I'm not used to doing those kind of things. And so I didn't include that on my end of the year taxes because in my head that wasn't my money, but it was under my information. And I sure as hell did get a letter from the IRS about that. So, and as we play some more clubs, that have a more structured business model, like they require that stuff.
Well, and I think it all comes down to what your goals are as a band. You know, if you're just aiming to be an in-town band, play one or two shows a month, have fun, not even worth the trouble. Don't even worry about it. You know, if you want to, you know, if you're trying to do like, what are some of our goals are to just do bigger things, longer tours, bigger shows. And with that in mind, you're going to go across a lot of different platforms, and the bigger you want to do, the more you are dealing with structured businesses and structured venues and structured booking agencies, record labels, all that stuff. So the more that you have all that stuff in a row, it makes it just a lot easier. You can just plug and play the information versus being like, oh, I just got this thing and they asked me to do this thing. I have no idea how to do this. What am I supposed to do now? How do I handle this? You've already got that in place and you can just go about your day. All right, yeah, you gave me that thing. I make it out to this LLC. We'll sign the check. We're good to go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing across, if you're playing even, just like I live on a state line, I can walk to Illinois from here. So, but if you're selling merch at a show and someone uses tap, because you can do tap pay right with your phone through Square and stuff, IRS knows you just sold goods across state line. There's different taxes. I mean, you could be a band that only plays 3 shows a year and get fucking nailed.
Yeah.
I mean, it all depends on how much of dicks they want to be. So yeah, especially with digital payment now, it is good to make sure you're tracking everything. So even if you're not going to form an LLC, you really got to make sure like every digital footprint, especially if it's something through Square or Tap, they know. They know. They got
Yeah.
someone that just gets paid to screw people over and find that shit.
Yep.
This is where I'm going to give Kevin insanely huge props because that was one of the topics of conversation when this started to come up and we started considering how tax information and stuff like that is going to be done moving forward, especially when we sell in different states because everyone's got their different tax codes. Like, you have to consider sales tax or lack of sales tax in certain states or whatnot. So, yeah, all that gets like recorded and like, put on a spreadsheet and tracked. So, and then we all and then it's put into the stored it's stored safe the information stored safely. We send it out to the tax person, and yeah, that's like something that not a lot of people would consider, but you know as we do the LLC thing, these are things you have to consider.
Well, yeah, because when you form the LLC, you don't have a choice but to get real nitpicky and very good about your books, whether it's booking shows or your finances or time involved.
Mhm.
Some people want to show even all of that. So when you did form with an LLC or not, when people want to go the more professional side and run their band like a business, like a brand, what are some of the things you guys had to do that you weren't I mean, obviously stuff like, bank accounts, if you need a debit card attached to it for when you need gas when
Mhm.
you're on the road or stuff like that, or, when it came to delegating who was going to do what with the business. What's some of the things that came up that you weren't expecting or you were expecting?
Uh, I mean, for me, like, I was never a person who saved receipts and stuff like that, but that was definitely something that we all had to like remember. Like, okay, we're out of town for a weekend or we're on tour. Document everything. Like, save all your receipts. Keep them organized and stuff like that. It's like that took some getting used to for me personally because that's not something I ever thought about ever.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
still like, we I'm still not the best at recording it for myself. I'm good at recording it for the band. Anytime we drive the van anywhere, I log it into our mileage log of all right, we drove it 10 miles today. Here was the odometer at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. But that was one thing, we I've never had an accountant. I've always just done a 1040 easy on my taxes, claim zero dependents,
Mhm.
or one dependent myself because I don't have any kids. Like, it's always been TurboTax, boom, done with my taxes. This is the first time I've ever, as of last year, was the first year I ever actually like hired an accountant, which we all did. She did our business taxes and then our personal taxes as well. And the first time we sat down with her and had a meeting, she was like, we're like, how do we write off business expenses? What should we write off? She's like, well, do you drive to practice in your car? Yeah, okay. Write down your mileage. Do you do booking? Do you booking at home on your computer? Yeah, okay. Do you do it in your living room? Yeah, okay. What's your rent? What's your utility bill? What's your electric? That is all you. That is now your workspace. You've been doing it. Even in town. If I go, out of town, if I go to a show, anytime I go to a show and I spend money at a show, whether I played it or not, that is mingling within the music community, that is collaborating, that is talking with other musicians. That's all a write-off expense, so like it's funny, those thing, the saying in the movie, it's like, oh, put it on my card, I can write it off. It's so incredibly true, and those, the way that I think about it is like those systems are in place for the big guys. Why can't the little guys use it just as much?
Well, I've been a tattoo artist for a while, so I've had terrible dealings with doing taxes for a minute. So I'm kind of used to like saving receipts and just kind of keeping track of everything because I've had an LLC for the last like, gosh, it's been like 7 years, 8 years now or something like that. But so the transition wasn't very hard, but also it's just more stuff to keep track of, which can also get like overwhelming sometimes. So
I will say like that was also something, learning to like save your receipts was definitely a big feature, but also something I thought which was funny but was interesting was trying to join, or the advice that I would like to share is trying to join any and every rewards program regarding gas stations that you can. Because watching Kevin do that was hilarious because he's like, I need this reward card for this place to get gas bonuses there, rewards card for this place over that direction. And then, just like finding out, especially after an LLC, I think there's like certain discounts with like some hotels and stuff. Occasionally, when we had the expenses to do it, just doing that stuff. So the advice I can give is that any place that offers it at this point, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with all that. Get
Yeah,
that rewards membership because
I mean,
especially if you're traveling frequently or going
yeah.
across the road, like it helps.
I
It
mean,
does
it's
help.
it's a pain to keep track of, I'm sure, for Kevin, but like has like had its good rewards for us and stuff where he's been like, you'll see Kevin all excited when we're pumping gas because he's like, we got 25 cents off, baby.
Everything adds up.
Like
Well,
we
it
got, yeah,
it
25
adds
cents a
up, and
gallon.
another thing too. Yeah, well, it adds up too, and you got to remember is it's like hotels and stuff like that too. Is ask, do you get have a business discount?
Yeah,
You're an LLC, you're a business, and so a lot of them will say yeah, and they'll just look at the card and be like, oh yeah, your name's obviously not Kids on Fire, so that's a business account or whatever it is. So there's a lot of companies that'll do that, especially any type of travel companies, anyone involved with travel, whether it's rental cars or hotels and stuff like that. But also, like you're talking about all the organization, and that's one of my favorite parts of being an LLC now is like as soon as I filed, I'm like, I've got a new Trapper Keeper, I've got a new file cabinet, I've got 4 different apps to track stuff and fucking log my receipt. I'm such a nerd when it comes to like over organizing stuff. Well, you guys know that. I send you my numbered lists of what I need, and like I love the organization that an LLC makes you do. I've probably done way more than I need to.
yeah,
So, Kevin, I think you're the lucky one. You get to handle all that stuff. You probably don't think that, but
yeah,
I don't. It's something I think a lot of people hate and dread. But I, as humans, we are creatures of habit, and we like patterns. And I personally, the more when I have a blank calendar, it gives me anxiety. When I have a whole bunch of events or appointments on my calendar, it calms me down a little more. So like I know what I'm planning on. I know what I'm looking forward to. I know what I have to expect.
I mean, if you want to talk about his planning skills, you should see the back of our band van whenever we got a little gear back up. It's a whole Tetris game for this guy. He has a whole strategy, so the planning thing definitely tracks.
yeah,
That's more
I'm this.
spatial awareness.
Yeah, I'm the same way with scheduling. Like for this whole year, I think since probably the first or second of January, I've had some sort of meeting or recording an episode every single day, and after tomorrow, there's like well, after Monday, I've got like 10 days that nothing's on my calendar and I'm fucking panicking. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to find stuff because if I don't see ink everywhere on that calendar, I'm like, oh God, I'm wasting time. I could be doing this, that. But yeah, I'm the same way. If I don't have a full calendar, I can't function.
yeah,
Well, I think part of that too comes from this mentality that is just like ingrained into us that if you're not being productive, you're wasting time. And I don't know. It's like a U.S. Kind of mentality about productivity that is just ingrained to us since we're kids. Like it used to be I could just watch a movie and not feel bad about it. Nowadays I'm like I watched a movie. If I watch a second one, what am I doing with my day? I how am I not monetizing my day and doing a side hustle or I'm not being a productive enough person. And there's definitely something to be said about that as well.
Yeah, you're well, and especially in this industry because there's so much with networking. It's like you can always be doing something else along with it. And so I'm the same way. If I'm not multitasking, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Even if I'm getting my to-do list done and there's 100 things and I get all 100 of those done, if I wasn't doing two, three things at the same time, I feel like I'm wasting time. Because hard work creates hard work, but that's how it is. It's ingrained in us. If you're not struggling, you're not gaining ground, which is just a horrible way to be raised.
Yeah,
That's
like
So
the
work,
American trauma system.
working for myself. I If I'm not like constantly doing something, I feel like I'm being lazy. It sucks. Like, and I have to force myself to not work on certain days because like if I don't, I'm just constantly moving. So
well, me and my wife have gotten in the habit because 75% of my business is done online, and most of that is on social media. So even though like I don't even go on my personal accounts, maybe to post once here and there, but otherwise it's just I'm on there doing work stuff. And it's gotten to the point because I'll start working at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still at 8, 9 o'clock at night. I've been doing it all day long, so it's gotten to where yeah, we'll throw the TV on, but now I'm like, no, I go put my phone in the kitchen, and then we'll sit down and watch a show. Like I don't remember the last time I did that before. Just a couple weeks ago, we started doing that again because we,
that's
as a
good.
culture now, we've always got these damn things in our hand, even when we're trying to relax. And so
Yeah,
now I'm like, no, I need to just like because there's a bunch of shows. I'm like, how is it season 7? I don't remember a single thing that has happened. I'm like, I could watch one of my favorite shows. I'm like, I could watch the entire series. I don't think I paid enough attention to it. And I'm like, I used to binge like a show in a day, and now I can't even get myself to put my fucking phone down to watch a 30-minute episode. It's something we all got to work on because yeah, when you work hard, you got to relax too. You need
yeah.
creative input in order to keep getting creative output. That's the way I always look at it too.
Yeah.
I've actually been reading stuff about that because I've found lately one of my personal like criticisms against myself was I feel like my multitasking and short-term attention has been getting worse and worse because of this constant use of the phone, like always having a phone. Like I used to enjoy just sitting and watching a 30-minute TV show, and that was my way of zoning out and like just kind of turning off my brain and going into another world. And then now it's like I do that and I still have my phone in my hand and I'm scrolling, and it's all these 2-second dopamine hits where it's actually like rewiring your brain to not be able to sit for and just enjoy something without having five other things going on at the same time while you're not actually retaining most of those five things that you're um, spreading your attention across.
I can't remember. I could never go to a movie theater again. There's no way. Even going to a show is it's hard to just sit and focus on what's in front of you anymore. Like, and then we do it to ourselves. Like you said, it's these little dopamine shots. We're just dopamine mining all day long instead of just sitting back and just taking it in. It's hard. It's really hard.
It's funny because I have one of those Regal movie passes every month, and I do actually go to a lot of movies just because it forces me to not look at my phone for a couple hours. And I find it helps me to like
Hmm.
kind of calm my brain down a little bit, just because I'm constantly like either looking at my tablet, looking at my phone, like it's too much, you know.
Yeah.
That's especially why for as much as people still like, like roll their eyes or talk about, like, that's why video gaming's so huge to me, because sometimes I just go on sessions where I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot like 8 hours passed or something. I'm like,
See, I've never been a big gamer. Like I loved the stuff when I was kids. I still love the retro stuff like Atari and the original Nintendo and stuff. But I'll play a game when my son finds one that he wants me to play, and I'll download it and we'll play. And then of course, Mosh Pit Mayhem, Stoner Games, go get it. But other than that, I've never been big into gaming. But I wish I could sit down and just zone out and relax like that. I try to get myself to, and I can't. But like I said, I'm getting better at it. But it's the multitasking thing. It's the way we were raised. If we're not suffering, we're not, gaining ground. So it's but we're all getting better at it. So, all right. When it comes to when you decide to do the LLC, was there a time where it kind of felt weird, like because I mean it's punk rock, it's what punk rock's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a business. It's not supposed to be organized. Was there a time where it kind of felt weird, or anybody kind of gave you shit about doing the grown up thing and trying to be professional?
Mm, I don't. Oddly enough, I don't think it really felt all that weird when we did it. It kind of opened up a lot more doors for us, honestly. Um, I'm sure we've gotten a couple of not like judgy looks or anything from people, just more kind of surprised looks. We're like, oh, really? And more. I feel like more people have been just more inquisitive about it and be like, oh, really? You guys got an LLC? What's that all about? And then we get to talk to them about it and kind of share why we decided to do an LLC. And some people have, taken that information and been like, oh, actually, that's a good point. I never thought about it like that and stuff. But I feel like it hasn't really ever been weird for me or for us. It's just allowed us to do more stuff. Like I don't think we would have been able to buy our van prior to this if we hadn't done an LLC. Like we might have, but doing it with the LLC, it allowed us to buy it. Now that's the band's van. It's not somebody's van that we're using for the band. That's the band's thing.
I mean, if
Yeah, it's
anything, sorry, go ahead.
go
Sam.
ahead, Sam.
Right. So I was just saying, like, if anything, like, it's been a lot more people like saying, like, oh, that's smart, or like saying, like, oh, that's like, we should probably do that. So I think once you get to like, it's weird because there's a lot of that still debate about like, staying as independent as possible, keeping like the product as pure as possible versus like life happens. Like sometimes you want to play bigger opportunities in order to do those things. You gotta do these certain grown-up things.
I think
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
making.
like,
Oh, sorry.
I don't. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, you're good, dude. Go ahead.
You were next, Kevin. Go.
I was just saying, like, I at least like directly, I haven't had any negative reactions to it or dismissive commentary. Maybe there's some stuff said in the background. Who knows? But what has been great is when I have told anybody about it, there's just genuine curiosity. Like, oh, like what's that? How's that going? How do I do that? Or like yeah, we were thinking about doing that. Like I'm curious to know what the benefits are if you find it beneficial versus detrimental to your overall costs and effort in what you guys are doing. And so I mean I know there's this like mentality, and I think it's definitely more of an old school mentality about punk rock where you gotta struggle and you gotta do everything DIY and do it yourself and do it the hardest way possible. Otherwise, it's not punk rock enough. But like I've personally never really ascribed to that ethos. I don't, like yes, DIY is great, and I'd love to do as much DIY stuff as possible. But there's all these systems in place that are abused by bigger things as the little people, we should be taking advantage of that because we're the ones that get stepped on at the end of the day. So why not use the things that are in place to our advantage to help ourselves get a leg up as well? As long as you're treating people with respect and do it, that's really all that I care about. And as far as like the LLC, like I think everyone is actually genuinely curious. Like the more protections everyone has for themselves and get to make music and do this stuff for as long as they can do it, why not? So I haven't really seen or gotten a lot of anything on the negative side in terms of when we talk about being an LLC or treating our band as a business.
Well, I mean, I would argue also the us any band
That's just me.
forming an LLC is doing it DIY. You're investing in yourself. It's like I don't I would see I see that as being as DIY as possible. We're taking ownership in ourselves and we're doing it ourselves, not having anybody else come in and try to do the shit for us. We're taking it by the reins and trying to do everything ourselves. you know?
You're right. You're right.
It
Johnny?
reminds me of a quote from Jay Prozac from the Prozacs. He said, DIY doesn't mean it's got to look like shit.
Mhm.
And that's the same as the way it's running. And like you said exactly, is DIY. I mean, I don't think there's anything more punk rock and do it yourself than start your own fucking business.
Mhm.
I ain't working for somebody else, telling me that being legitimate and being professional isn't punk or isn't DIY ethics. Then you didn't listen to the fucking lyrics, did you? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I can't think of anything more DIY than what you guys are doing, and you're making sure you don't need outside help, or if someone does come down on you, you've got it covered. And
Yeah.
it's really smart. And even without the LLC, you guys are professionals. And I mean, professional means different things. I mean, some people just think it means you get paid for what you do. No, because I know some really shitty people that make good money and they are not professional in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You guys are professional the way you carry yourself, the way you are on stage, the how technical you are. Like, you're a good band. So even without the LLC, it's nice to see, because I think before long you're seeing, I mean, they already phased out the penny. Cash is going to be gone before long. Everything's going to be traceable, and it's going to get to, I think, where you'll still have those small punk clubs that expect the band to come in like a fucking whirlwind, in and out and gone. But I think a majority you're going to see, you're going to try to book, and they'll be like, sure, can I get your EIN number?
Mhm.
And you're going to have bands going, oh, fuck, a what? And it's better to get ahead of it, because before too long, that's how things are going to go, because the government wants their goddamn money. And they're going to make sure somebody's paying it. And the venues aren't going to want to have to be worry about things. They're only going to work with bands that are LLCs, because then they don't have to worry about if the stage gets trashed, they're going to get paid. Or if the crowd does something, they're still going to get paid. So before long, it's going to be a necessity. So it's not a bad idea to start looking into the stuff.
Yeah.
It took me, I mean, because my business is just a solo ownership. I think it takes like an hour. Go through LegalZoom for an extra $100. It walks you through the shit, and I get a text message like within a couple hours, everything's done. Here's my EIN number. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that difficult to do. I mean, watch a couple YouTube videos. You can get the information you need. And it's not a bad idea. People start looking into it. And even if you're not going to do the LLC, start doing it more on the professional side. Try to get organized.
Mhm.
Especially if you're trying to get picked up by a label or a booking agent, try to start touring, getting on festivals and stuff. They're not going to work with amateurs.
Yeah.
So it's good the way you guys carry yourself with or without the LLC. So I commend you for that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think making the choice, I think we did like a quite a while ago now, of this isn't just a hobby for us. I mean, this is, I think we all consider this like our other thing that we do, besides our regular job. And um, it's just, I can't imagine not doing it. And at some point, it has to become that second job. It has to have, certain things set in place so that you can continue to do it. And I think that if there is anybody talking about us having an LLC, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I like you guys said, like, that would be insane, because having your own business is the most DIY thing possible. So, and we want to keep this going, and hopefully, like, yeah, I don't feel any shame in saying, like, it would be nice at some point for this to almost be like a second income as well, because the more we are able to do this, because it's difficult in the world that we're living in right now to pay rent and everything else. The more that we're able to do this, the more we can put our art out there, and we can say the things we need to say, which I think is the most punk thing you can do. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think most musicians out there, I mean, to say at least 90%, 80% of musicians out there always say, we're like, well, yeah, I would love for my art to be able to, be my means of supporting myself. Eventually down the road, this is some avenue that you might want to take and able to allow that kind of thing to happen. It's like everybody says that, so I think it'd be absolutely ridiculous for somebody to like shit all over somebody for taking those steps to try and make that happen.
Well, and it's you guys are well. We've spoken before. Is you're a band and that because there's some bands that because of responsibilities, whether it's family or career, their their dream would be able to play every weekend and make good money at it. But
Mhm.
they're not going to be able to tour and stuff like that. Where you guys have the opportunities that is a possibility. So you're able to take and then I mean, if you want to be able to do that as a living, you have to look like okay, let's see bands like in our genre or even in our area that have pulled that off. What did they do? You know, and the first thing is they got organized.
Yeah.
They acted like professionals and became professionals because you can't because it is whether you want to call it a business or not. A band is you are running a business. Just most people are doing it very poorly because they're not thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
Well, not just bands though. There's a lot of businesses that aren't run like businesses and they don't stick around long. So it's neat to see because like you guys know what your goals are and you know they're achievable and you're taking the right avenue in order to do it. And it's really cool to see. I love working with professionals that are actual professionals. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like the goal always is to eventually get to a point where this can help support us, as a source of income. And we're not there yet, obviously, but we have we are at the point now where I don't remember the last time. I mean, this band finances itself. We've never had to pay personally out of pocket for anything for a long while. Like we've never had to pay out of pocket for gas while we're on tour, hotels that we stay at. The band pays for all that stuff. We don't pay for it individually, and that so we're not at a point right now where we're able to like support ourselves from income from the band, but we're not out of pocket on anything. Like it's a self-sustaining thing right now as far as like the band paying for itself.
And even then, like we're trying to do stuff like to save as much money as we can while we're on the road too. Like, even like as we were saying, hotels and stuff. Like, that's not every night. That's like if there's like a last resort, like nothing else is available because we're still doing the old school style thing of like
Oh yeah.
asking people that we're playing shows with, like, hey, like anyone got a floor that we can crash
Oh
on?
yeah.
Like, for reasonably well-tuned guests that you can stay with and stuff like that. So that is to say, like, there's a lot of strategy into realizing that, part of it is like trying to save as much as you can and then like relying on the good hearts of the punk community. And we've come across some really awesome people, and for the most part like we're pretty reasonable house guests. We just go and pass out.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly part of what I love about this is like the like going on tour and getting out of town and playing shows. You start building a bigger community, and we've met so many amazing people because of it. Like on the last tour we did, like I made a point to message all the bands before our shows to see if anyone would be willing to house us, and we bring like blow up sleeping pads, and we're happy to just have a floor, a roof, and a bathroom to use, um, and we're not like party animals or anything like that. So I think on the last tour it was 3.5 weeks, and I think we stayed at maybe 6 hotels out of that whole time, maybe seven. And that was just out of the kindness of people who hadn't met us being willing to let us come into their house and sleep on their floor. And I try to do the same thing. I live in an apartment, so I have limited space, but like I try to do the same thing when we have friends coming through or somebody hits us up and they're like, "Hey, we're playing a show with you guys. We're looking for a place. Does anyone know somewhere?" And so I'll usually, I keep, I have an extra futon on my house and a blow up mattress I'll bring out, and stuff like that as well when I'll have people crash here. So it's part of what makes it so enjoyable in the first place is this community we've built around this. Some of our closest friends we've met through. They let us crash on their place once, and now it's almost rude if we don't sleep on their floor when we come to town.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
Like,
what's some
like a quick anecdote. I remember a couple of instances where we've stayed at people's houses and they've had partners that were like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about these guys," and like they had to leave the house or something because they were working. And Kevin and I just went ham on their kitchen cleaning because we were like, oh, like, let's help them out while we're here. And then after we would play a show later, and then like the drummer, the people who were staying with the guy, he was like, dude, she was so stoked and surprised. Like, what the heck? I was like, we were bored. We like cleaning. I don't know what to tell you, man.
When
Yeah,
you
I think
guys
a lot of
come through
people.
the Midwest this year, you could definitely stay at my house because I'm always down for some free cleaning. So,
I think a lot of people expect us to be like partying and causing issues or something, but we are very, very polite and cordial for sure.
Yeah.
all right. So, what's some last advice you've got for bands that are thinking about like, should they do the LLC or not? What's some advice you got to help them make that decision?
Let Kevin handle that one.
Um, yeah, I think kind of like I mentioned earlier, it really it, it it requires sitting down and thinking about, talking about what are your goals? What are you looking to do with this band? Do you want to just have fun and play in the garage? Cool. Don't even, not worth the trouble. Do you want to play a couple shows a month? Also, probably not worth the trouble and the headache you'd go through forming an LLC. If you want to, even if you want to do a short tour here and there, if you're not wanting to play all the time or a lot where you have a lot of income coming at you from different sources, it's it's not as much worth the trouble. But after a certain point, after a certain dollar amount, after you have enough things that are coming through, like if you're like, you go viral and you blow up and you just start doing an insane amount of digital sales, but you play like twice a year. Yeah, you might want to form an LLC just to have somewhere that goes and protect it and protect yourself from, scrutinization, from the government, because that is 100% all traceable and it's all going to be traced. If it's anything digital, it's getting reported somewhere to the IRS and it's on record and it's under your name. So if it gets past a certain amount, like my rough, you know, like discomfort started getting between the $8,000 to $10,000 annually influx. Now that doesn't mean we're taking that we're making that money. Like that money's coming in, but how much did we spend on merch? How much did we spend on our van? How much did we spend on gas getting to everywhere? Like Mikey said, like we don't. I haven't. I don't think any of us have ever taken a single payout in the history of this band.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, we're self-sufficient. We haven't paid a personal out of our personal pockets to make merch or do recording costs or pay for gas or hotels in a long time. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to what are your goals as a band? How far are you looking to go with it? And how big are you looking to make it? And what avenues are you looking to go at doing that? I mean, if you're planning to say totally cash, totally underground, not on social media, not using Bandcamp or it's cash only at your shows and stuff like that, or like that is a different story, and that's a totally different way to approach it. And I know people who do it, and that totally works, and that is also a viable option. But it that is the intent in how they decide to do that, right? I would say that 90% of bands aren't doing it that way or aren't going to stay doing it that way if they want to go do bigger things. At some point, you're going to get a venue, you play a big enough show, and you want to play bigger shows, you're going to get a check from a venue. They're going to ask for an EIN number. Um, so it really, like I said, it comes down to what are your goals as a band and how big do you want to get. And after a certain point, you want to have things in place that protect everybody.
All right. So, thank you guys so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
love being able to show the business side of things because it's professional doesn't always mean just getting paid. And you guys are professionals through and through. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. What do you guys got coming up?
Kevin? Yeah. Well, we got
Yeah, so I think you said this episode will be coming out in around March, right? So if it's the beginning, this happens to be the first week of March, this won't be out in the world right now, but at the time of this podcast, it will be. We just confirmed a really amazing show with some friends of ours we've been wanting to play for a long time. Um, and that's at the Airport Tavern in Tacoma, Washington, at their awesome new renovated venue that they've created. That we have this will be our first time in the room, and it's with our really good friends Noise. Who Sam and Matt, the singer, are very close personal friends, and we're friends with Mike, and we're friends with Matt as well, but we're also friends with Mike and Aaron, who joined Noise, and so we're really excited to play with them. And then the other band, the touring headlining band for that one
Definitely stereo.
is Death by Stereo. I was
Mm.
blanking for a second. So that's going to be a really epic show, and it's Noise's album release. So we're really excited about that one.
And then the
And that's
first week of March, right? Yeah, first week of March. Not that
oh
show,
wait,
but then
no,
we
that
have
was the
the
last weekend of March. That one is the last weekend. That's the last Friday of March, the 27th. The first weekend of March, we were playing at the Fun House here in Seattle with Craze in the Brains, the Last Gang, and Hans Gruber and the Diehards. Really excited about that show too. That is a really cool lineup.
2 shows.
We're also doing it again in Bremerton the next night.
Yes, we are. Yep. Chuck, which is a really cool venue that is an old movie theater that's been converted into a venue, and it's always all ages, and they have a bar, so it's a very unique spot.
Run by the best people.
That'll be a really cool. That'll be a really cool show. I got Crazy the Brains. I just came across them recently. They just had something produced by Hellcat. I think is really awesome. And then Hans Gruber and the Diehards are just awesome. And one of my favorite band names.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, between that and Space Monkey Mafia are probably two of my favorite newer band names, and plus they're just awesome bands. So that'll be an awesome show. That's going to be a lot of fun. And where's that one at?
That one's at the Fun House in Seattle, and then the next night at the Charleston, or the Chuck, as we call it, here in Bremerton, Washington. Then we also have one more at the end of the month, the day after the Noise show in Tacoma, and that is in one of our favorite cities to play, Vancouver, Canada, on the 28th, the last Saturday of the month, and that's at this really cool venue called Green Auto. I'm still finalizing the lineup, but so far we have our buddies in Contra Code playing, and then also another really cool band who will be playing with the first time called Sundiver.
All right, that's awesome. Oh, excuse me, sorry. All right, well, again, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Everybody, thank Kids on Fire. Check them out. Where can everybody buy your merch?
At Bandcamp, Seattle, Kids on Fire, Seattle.bandcamp.com.
All right. There's Kids on Fire, Seattle.bandcamp.com. Get yourself some vinyl, some CDs, some shirts, whatever you're looking for. Thank these guys again for coming on. Everybody, as always, please like, share, subscribe. Give me some feedback, good or bad. I always like to know what I'm doing. Thank these guys. And as always, please have fun and be nice to each other, because if you're not, there's no fucking point. And we will see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us again, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
The corgi. Yes, that's who I wanted to interview the whole damn time. Now it shows up.